And good evening. Welcome to episode 28 of the Odyssey Hour. Obviously, the most exciting hour of Facebook Live anybody will see. As you can tell by the tone of my voice.
Yeah, we're sounding very enthused, very energetic today. I like it. I like it.
Have you ever had one of those days where you thought everything was going to go pretty good, and then shit started to go wrong, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to spend the rest of the day in bed. I'm giving up. Today's lost day. That was today.
Yeah.
That was today.
We've all been there.
Yes. So waiting in the wings because Haley's not going to be here tonight. So we brought back returning guest Miss Becky.
Ooh.
So back by popular request by no one really, but how you doing, Becky?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself. It's okay.
Sorry, I was just getting ready to take the dog for a walk when I got your message.
Yeah, you don't need to take the dog for the walk. So, how's everybody else doing?
Hi, Pam.
Pam? Who's Pam? That's Becky.
She just commented.
Yeah,
Oh.
just commented.
I said hi to
Who's
Becky.
Pam?
Oh,
Who's
Pam's
been
here.
watching our show every week for 30 weeks?
I was talking to people in the thing here, and he never says hi to Pam. So
Anyway,
it threw me for a loop. I'm sorry.
anyway.
It's one of those days. I'm flustered. Okay.
I've had a pretty okay day today. I got outside and played some tennis with my brother. We went out for lunch. It was pretty nice. I got a little bit sunburned, but not too bad. I really need to purchase some sunscreen. I don't have any in my apartment right now.
That would help.
It would.
Melanoma is nothing to just shake a stick at.
No, it's not. Not at all.
Lauren, Scott, how about you?
It's been good. I started an herb garden and I finally got my first sprouts today, so I'm very proud of myself.
Nice.
So it's been a good day.
What herbs are you growing?
I'm doing basil, cilantro, and parsley, and then I'm going out on a limb and trying green onions also.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So far, so good.
Well, my weed garden is still doing pretty good. So,
what weed are we talking about, Michael?
I don't know the names of any of them except maybe
dandelions.
Dandelion. No, there's no dandelions in there. In fact,
really,
I have successfully, it appears, rid my yard of dandelions.
Wow.
So,
but the other weeds are still there.
But yeah, the more
It's just because the dandelion growing season's over.
I don't care.
True. It's going to close for sure.
As long as Julie Andrews is not going to start running through my front lawn, I'm okay. So there you go. It actually somewhat looks like a yard to be proud of. So that's where you applaud people.
Yay.
I'll
Unmute yourself, Becky.
Last time you had a bunch of feedback problems, so I thought I'd just keep myself muted.
No, because you're going to forget, and all of a sudden you're going to be 30 seconds into an answer or whatever, and I'm not going to give that back to you.
Okay.
Anyways, all right, let's get to topics. So who wants to go first?
I can go if no one else wants to go.
Yeah, Lauren, you go since you're the only one that's prepared.
Oh, well, okay, I don't know about that, but okay. So my question for everyone here, if you had to choose between a reportedly haunted hospital, prison, house, or cemetery, which would you want to investigate and why?
I think I would, based on the fact I haven't investigated a prison yet, I would probably do the prison. I think the hospital and prisons are kind of safe and sure bets in terms of paranormal activity, specifically spirits, obviously. So that would be my main reason, is just they're just kind of always hot spots, just because they are centers for a lot of negative energy a lot of the time, and just energy in general. So yeah, that's my main reasoning for picking that.
Great. Anybody? Becky, Scott?
I guess. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
I'd say the same thing that Sam did. I'd maybe pick the hospital or the prison just because I haven't done one yet.
We haven't done a hospital yet either.
Yeah, I have. I mean,
done psychiatric hospitals before.
Yeah.
I don't consider Edinburgh and Ashmore. I don't consider hospitals.
Okay. But despite Mike, I feel like I've done a hospital before.
Okay, fair enough.
I would like to do a prison. So I think, and then what's the other choice?
Hospital, prison, home, or cemetery.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to do a cemetery.
Done
too.
Plenty of homes, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I've gone to a couple of cemeteries, but haven't done an official investigation there. But I think that would be interesting. So I think the prison and then the cemetery would be my second choice.
Gotcha. Becky, what about you?
I would like to do a hospital, just because of the fact that I've had a medical background. So I like helping people. And I feel like if somebody got stuck there, it was because they probably died a traumatic death. And it would be nice to be able to help somebody understand what happened to them. But a prison would be cool too, because I've never done one of them.
It's pretty sweet.
Honestly, I just feel like that might be more aggressive than a hospital. Because a lot of people that are in hospital or in prisons are there because they're not nice people.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Now you can mute yourself. Sorry, I was hearing myself come through the speakers. And
yeah, I think prisons do tend to be more negative. I mean, you have convicts there that, I mean, depending on the prison, that have done terrible things. So yeah, that would make sense. I would definitely put more caution on going into a prison than I would a hospital. I mean, we always, are careful with every investigation, but particularly I would be watching the things I would be saying at a prison for sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to say that because the only thing that I have not investigated is hospital. But with that said, I think I would probably choose a home, mostly because that's where I can do the most good. Also, they are the locations that really have not been touched. They're the spirits that probably have something to say and are going to be willing to communicate with you. Whereas all the other places, well, maybe even the cemetery, maybe not so much the cemetery, but especially hospitals and prisons, if they allow you in, they allow everybody in, which means they have had 1,000 different people to communicate with, to annoy them, to bother them every night. And you're not really going to, you have the most potential of not really getting anything, unless you want to provoke and, really piss everybody off. Becky, I think your background in medical might do a lot more than, let's say, me when it comes to hospitals and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, hospitals and prisons are probably going to be the most active for different reasons. But I would have to say the home is probably where you're going to get the most satisfaction, I guess you could say, with everything. So yeah, I would say home first, hospital second. What about you, Lauren?
I have, and I think we've talked about this before, I have real fears about investigating a prison just because I've heard some stories, and I don't want to be, put in a situation where I feel violated in some way. That being said, not that every single prison would be that way, but I feel like for me, it's much more likely in my head that it would happen in a prison versus anywhere else. So I do want to go to a prison, but at the same time, I have fears about that. So that's not top of my list. I would love to go to a cemetery because I feel like you're in a different environment. You're outside. So it's a different way of investigating, and there's different things you have to think about versus if you're inside, it's a little more controlled and contained. So I think just to kind of broaden my investigation skills, I'd like to try outside just to see what it's like and get a sense of what being outside for an investigation is like versus in a building somewhere.
Fair enough. I can tell you this, and Becky, you can back me up if you choose to. Being outside is not necessarily all that different. You just have to pay much closer mind on what is going on around you. Mm-hmm. Because you have way more things that can mess you up. And I don't mean like physically or anything, but can distract you. The crickets, the cicadas, raccoons, and just animals and deer, making all sorts of noises in the woods. If you're in a place that has that kind of stuff. But I mean, there's a lot more things that can mess with you in a cemetery as opposed to being in an enclosed environment like in a home or prison. But otherwise, I mean, you still take your recorders, you still use the equipment. You just don't have that many more surfaces to put it on. Mm-hmm. So, but I
was gonna say, I absolutely agree with Mike, because when you're in a location, you're locking the doors, because even if you're in a public location, you're locking them because there's people stopping by trying to get a free peek. So you're locked in, and in a cemetery, you are wide open to anybody sneaking up on you. And also, if you're in a cemetery in a busy location or a road nearby, you have to constantly tag if there's a vehicle. You have to constantly tag, all those different things to make sure you're not, later when you listen to your stuff, it was a growl. Well, no, it was a bad muffler going by type of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the living scare me, not the dead.
Right. And I didn't even put that into my list, the human factor, especially if you're in a cemetery that's known to be haunted, or is for some reason after dark a teenage hangout. That's another factor you have to put into it. Are people just going to show up? I think the only thing that can really help you with that is like police surveillance. If they know that you're there and they're driving by or stuff like that to check and make sure that the perimeter is clear. I know, what was it? Was it Ghost Adventures? Something did Bachelor's Grove, and and they had to have like police stationed around, this within a mile or whatever on the outskirts to make sure nobody was going to get in. So, I mean, there's just a lot more factors to take into consideration, but your investigative style really doesn't change all that much. But we'll get there. Sweet. Well, good question. Who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Nice. I don't want
to. So I've been thinking about lately that I'm thinking to a specific moment in the series Hellier, when they're doing a spirit box session in the like cave thing that they go out to. This is season 1. And they have a spirit that apparently they've talked to before show up on the spirit box. And they said, oh yeah, he just shows up from, he's from the Stanley. We met him at the Stanley, and he shows up.
I remember, God, what was it? Elliot? I don't know something along those lines.
I just remember that. So I was thinking about that the other day, and I wanted to ask you guys, like, what your theory is. And this doesn't necessarily relate to the spirit box, but what your theory is as to how freely do you think spirits can travel, and what do they need to do to be able to do a thing like that, to show up in a session miles and miles and miles away from where the spirit is supposedly at, and how, basically how freely do you think spirits can travel, and you think it's possible for the same spirit to follow you over thousands of miles in and out? Like, this isn't really an attachment situation. I don't think it is, because apparently they go like months without hearing from this spirit, and then all of a sudden he pops up in a session completely unrelated. So that's my question.
It's a good question. Who wants to take it?
Okay, so I have had an experience with somebody that actually showed up in my house from an investigation that was about 28 miles away from my home, about 2 months after the investigation actually happened. There was a little girl in the basement. We had investigated this location multiple times. We were the only team allowed in that building. But out of our team, I was the one she would communicate with. And then all of a sudden she showed up at my house 2 months later, and I was like, I called the owner of the place. I won't say the name of the place, but, and said, what's going on over there? And she's like, nothing. Why? And I said, well, the little girl from your basement's in my house. And she's like, I don't know. I'll look into it. The next day she called me. She had let a friend stay for the last couple of weeks in the basement because he lost his apartment or whatever. And apparently he started using a Ouija board down there. And she fled. And so, she came to me because I was a safe person, not because, a lot of times when we think about attachments and things following us home, we always think that, people get that happen to them because they were provoking or antagonistic or things like that. But sometimes you are the person they connect to. And in this case, the little girl felt safe with me. She kicked the guy out, and I didn't see her in my house again. So that's my story. I think it can happen.
Scott, Lauren?
Yeah, I think spirits are pretty free to roam wherever they want. They can visit other locations.
Lauren, you want to go while Scott's finishing his sentence?
Scott, do you want to add anything to that before I go?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I believe that there's a mix of spirits that like can move freely or go where they choose, and then there are a few that are actually stuck. Then again, that is just what they're saying, so I guess maybe they're not being truthful. But I do think that there are some situations where a spirit maybe did die tragically or something happened, and they are, for some reason unknown to themselves, stuck at a location or attached to an object, and they don't know how to move on. They probably do have the power to move on. They just don't know how to get there. So I guess maybe all spirits do have the opportunity to move freely, in my opinion, but not all know how. I think that's the key.
Yeah. I gotta say my theory is probably goes along the lines of, it's not so much an attachment as, as Becky kind of put it, more of like a familiarity, where they kind of get to know a person's energy signature, so to speak. If I can be Star Trekky here for a second, but especially if you're there multiple times and they need to find you, I think it's not so much an attachment where they come with you all the time, they're always with you, but it's almost like maybe a tether where if they need to find you, they can. And I think that also stems from permissions. Becky, I don't know if during any of your investigations, if you invited this little girl to be like, come and hold my hand, or, at some point in time, you said something that allowed her at least a little bit to latch on. Not in such a way where she's going to come with you.
I'm a mom. I might have.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, especially if it's supposedly a little girl. When you left or whatever, she really didn't need anything from you. But obviously when that guy started effing around, it changed, and she didn't know who to go to except for you. And I'm sure that kind of familiarity works. I also, I know you talked about, Sam, a specific example of this guy from the Stanley who every once in a while shows up at their sessions. Yeah. The thing about it is you have to take their word for it. Are they just saying it? Are they assuming it? Do they know for sure? I mean, the guy didn't say my name is Elliot, or, at least I don't think so. If he actually gave his name, or if this was like, oh yeah, we hear that voice all the time. The thing with the spirit box is it allows spirits from anywhere to talk into the box. I've said it multiple times where, if we use that at the Leduc, you could have spirits from goddamn France, speaking to you. Not that they probably would, because we've never been there. They would really have no reason to do so. Could they? Yes. Because again, it's energy. Energy has no limitations. They can do whatever it wants. So I'm with Scott. I think that they can go anywhere they want to. It's just, how do they know how to do it? Do they know where they're going? And do they actually want to go there? There was even that little girl at Ashmore that was going to that kitty corner house, anytime that she felt like it. You guys remember that story, don't you?
Yep.
So, yeah, I definitely think that spirits can go anywhere they want. Again, whether this spirit in Hellier or whatever is actually just showing up at random places, who knows? You have to take the Newkirk's word for it. And I'm not really prepared to do that at the present moment. But do I think it can happen? Yes. Yeah, I do. I do think it can happen. I just don't think I think it's a rarity when it does. All right, Becky, you have a topic for us?
I actually do.
Wow, go you. Quick thinking, Berkneys.
So there is, people out there that believe in stones for protection, stones for, harnessing their own energy, having that with them. And I am one of them, but I have ran into people that don't believe in using stones for protection and things like that, but yet they believe in limestone creating paranormal activity. What do you guys have, like, a I guess it's kind of a twofold question. Like, do you believe in the limestone, and do you believe in stones for protection? And if you don't believe in both, why don't you see a connection there?
As far as with stones, I don't think I necessarily believe that different stones have different properties. I think there's a lot of power in the idea of embedding power into basically whatever you want to do it whatever you want to. So I think stones are a physical object that you can focus your energy on protecting you. You know, they're kind of a grounding device. You can probably do the same thing with a piece of amethyst than you can with a piece of quartz or something like that. They can both achieve the same thing, because I think, you know, I don't have enough experience researching them, so I guess it's possible, but with my experience of touching different stones and me, you know, briefly reading a book about their different properties, I'm just like, it doesn't work for me, I guess. It doesn't really, I don't ever feel anything when I handle stones. You know, it's not really my thing. But if other people get satisfaction and get results out of using stones, I recommend to do them. And I think more of my opinion on that is, as I said, you can imbue power into any object you want as long as you have intent and you flow your energy into that object. I know Scott made something to that effect of when he was referencing his cross, where the cross itself doesn't have any power. It's the power you put into it that is important. As for limestone, I kind of lump that in with every other claim of like full moon shit. Like, I have not noticed any difference between limestone buildings and other buildings. It's just kind of not. I don't think it's a thing at all. It a lot of old buildings are made out of limestone because it used to be a pretty common material to find, and now I believe it's not as common and is really expensive to use. And there are cheaper materials like concrete and shit that you can make things out of. So I think the limestone is bullshit. So
Scott, Lauren?
I kind of agree with Sam for the most part. I don't know that I have a whole collection of stones myself, but I don't know that one is worth more than another. One is more powerful than another. You know, I think, like Sam said, I think that it works the same way as the cross does. The energy that it has, you put into it. With the limestone, and that I look at that as, you know, as being a theory of that. And it's not just the building, what the building is made of, but what the land the building is on is made of. And you know, I think that certain kinds of land might be able to hold energy more than another one. Quartz might be able to concentrate energy in a different way than some other thing would, but I don't know that it has its own energy. I don't know. You know, it's in a way it kind of works like a battery. You put energy into it, and you can draw energy out of it. I'm not sure that it's anything other than that. And you know, I would believe more in the idea of a place having running water and being able to draw energy from that than I do of just what something is made of. You know. Okay.
Yeah, I have lots of crystals around. I have my little fluorite tower that I keep right on my desk here, and I have some little chunks of amethyst around my room. Personally, I like them because it's a physical reminder to me to remember the intention that I put into it. Otherwise, my mind is in 50 different places and I totally forget. So I feel it's almost like a good physical reminder for me. Again, that is kind of going along with what everybody said. It's the intention, it's the power that you give it. So I think it's a very personal decision. If you feel that you need that reminder, or you need something physical to hold on to kind of ground you, then use it by all means. If you don't feel you need that, maybe it's not for you. I am not super versed on the different properties and why each stone might have a different property, but I know that there are different variations. There's different vibrations of each stone. So I think some do have different strengths than others, but again, it comes down to what you put into it because it's the intention behind it that goes with a lot of things in this field. I mean, I do bring stones with me when we go on investigations for protection. That's just what I do. I also bring religious objects. I bring both. As for the limestone theory, I think it goes along with my wanting to believe that thunderstorms can help build energy because, you know, it's energy, but that's like thrown out in an environment, but there isn't a whole lot of research to back it up kind of thing. So I'd like to believe that limestone is a conductor, but I'm not 100% convinced just because it's hard to prove. Honestly, I really want to believe it, but I'm not super convinced yet.
So unfortunately for me, Serena took my limestone answer. So now I can't even be like, that was an original thought because now you said it first. But when it comes to limestone, I believe it's more like a sponge, sort of an energy sponge. I don't think it causes paranormal activity. No, that's all right, Serena. Go ahead. Take all my answers. Make yourself look brilliant here. It's okay. No, it's fine. Seriously. But I think it's a good conductor for residual energy. I don't think you're gonna find a lot of intelligent spirits at a limestone type facility that draw energy off the limestone itself. But I think you're going to find a lot of footsteps. You're going to find a lot of like residual, you know, somebody walking maybe down a hallway, not paying any attention. Everything is going to be residual and a limestone place. As for the stones, I've never really been a big believer in them. I technically still am not, even though I have like a pouch filled with quartz and rose quartz and tourmaline and you know, stuff like that. I have a necklace that has tourmaline and an eagle claw, you know, that I'll wear to like Edinburgh or, you know, something that might have some darker activity to it. Do I think it's actually going to help me? I have no flipping idea. I hope it will, which is why I wear it. Just one of those what's it really going to hurt? Besides me. But so yeah, to each their own, I guess I'm going to say. You know, I put a lot of intent. I put a lot of energy into just protecting myself through me, that I don't particularly feel the need at least to have these rocks and stones somehow doing it for me. So I have no problem with them at all. If anybody wants to use them, use them. They're only going to help if you believe that they help. But if you don't use them, I'm not going to be like, where are your stones? You know, where's your protection? You're not going to see me do that at all. But what about you, Becky?
I guess I have a couple pieces of jewelry that are stone, and I very much put them out under a full moon. I bring them in.
Oh, you're a psycho.
I'm not it.
And I sound like Darth Vader.
Everybody has. Everybody has their own beliefs. But I mean, and then I do, when I bring them in, I hold them in my hand. I put my intent into them. And I feel better having them with me. So for me, it works.
How do you know?
I'm still here. I would say nothing's made me crazy, but that was from birth. So.
And a little of me.
A little bit of you.
Just really quick, the question in the chat. Yes, Josh, this chat is live. Live! Okay, that's all I have to say. Scott, how about, was that your answer? I guess
Mm-hmm.
Becky? Was that your full answer?
That was my full answer.
Because you didn't really say anything about limestone.
Oh, limestone, I agree with the fact that I think it is more of a residual. Because just like, if a traumatic event happens, or just like you said, a sponge, it pulls it in and it just kind of keeps replaying it, is what I feel. I don't feel like it's going to help give them more energy or intelligent haunting to keep communicating with people. I think it's a replay. Something dramatic happened there, something that, every day grandma washed the laundry and cooked the supper, and she did the same routine for 50 years, and now it is stuck in that house.
Yeah.
I really love your viewers.
Well, so do I.
Their chats. I'm loving their chats.
Yeah.
I'm getting sidetracked. Sorry.
Silence yourself, Becky. There we go. All right, Scott. How about what's your topic?
Hey, I don't know how good a topic it is, but we've talked about cryptids and cryptid theory before. That's what it's about. I was watching a movie the other day. Which wasn't a good movie. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's one interesting thing came out of it. The movie was about these aliens that were trying to were trying to infiltrate the Earth. There was a team of Earth scientists trying to stop them. The scientists had set up something in their headquarters that prevented the aliens from entering it and sabotaging them. So the aliens had to con this group of Earth people to try and help them to get into the scientists' place to sabotage it. The humans helping the aliens had a Yeti on their team. The scientists had a Sasquatch on their team. The Sasquatch was very intelligent, but not one of the scientists. He was their security operative, and the soldier who was protecting them in the facility. At one point, the humans helping the aliens were brought onto the ship, and they were shown a video link to the scientist's lab, and one of the humans said, "Oh my God, is that a Sasquatch? Sasquatch are real?" And the alien said, this was the part that I found interesting. The alien said, "Yes, Squatch are real. We knew that humans would betray them and exploit them, so we have been helping them to hide." According to the theory of this movie, the people who made it, there is a relationship between the Sasquatch and aliens. The relationship is not that the Sasquatch are aliens or they were put here by aliens. Their theory was that Sasquatch are Earth beings who have their own society, their own civilization. They're very intelligent. They have allied themselves with the aliens, and the aliens provide them with some kind of stealth or technology that hides them from humans and interferes with humans' ability to record, do video recording of them. So what do you think of that theory?
It sounds, it sounds like they had one line of intelligence in the entire movie.
Yes.
Love it. It's my new theory. I'm adopting it.
Ridiculous. I mean, just the plot of the movie. I don't mean the theory. I mean, the plot of the movie is ridiculous. Like that, and that's me saying, and I watched Thanksgiving, which has a murderous talking turkey. And that makes more sense to me than the plot outline that you just gave us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. I'm on board. It's my new theory. It's my new theory now.
So Sam 100% agrees.
I don't agree with it. I just like it. You know how I feel about Bigfoot, and aliens. So
that's it. That's your answer.
That's my answer.
Okay. Becky, Lauren.
I'm still trying to process the whole plot of this movie, but yeah, I'm gonna hurt myself trying to do that. I guess I've never thought of that theory before, and I'm with Sam. I kind of like it. Like it makes sense. It makes more sense in my mind than Bigfoot himself being an alien. I think that seems a little more off of my okay, that's plausible meter. I mean, it's not horrible logic. It makes sense because, like, I would assume that if the human race did know about Sasquatch, they probably would be exploited in some way. That doesn't seem like a far jump to make to me. And from all the research that I've done, they seem like intelligent creatures as well that are very good at camouflaging themselves. So I like that theory. I like that.
Baxter?
Okay, so now I'm going to lose the people of your viewers that like me.
More likely.
I don't believe in Bigfoot because, like, I don't. I can't get behind it because, for goodness sakes, we can get apparitions on film, but we can't get a Bigfoot. So I'm sorry, Scott. You're never going to get that time of your life back.
Sam, are you trying to high five her?
I'm trying to high five her. It's hard.
Okay. It's COVID. We air high five anyway. Okay.
Oh, it would have been better.
But no, I can't get behind Bigfoot. Sorry. And I'm sorry, Scott, you're never going to get that time you watch that movie back in your life.
That's what Scott does. Did you watch that on Sci-Fi? Is that where that movie was? That sounds like a movie that would be on the Sci-Fi channel.
It really does.
Amazon Prime.
Or Amazon Prime.
Makes even more sense. Don't allow
Amazon Prime is where movies that will never be seen anywhere else go to be seen by morons looking for something to do.
The mausoleum of fucking terrible movies.
Right. It's where movie careers go to die. It is Amazon Prime now. But it's surprising on how many people, though, like, are jumping at the bits to get on it. Like, everybody is like, for people who contact me about Vegas, they all want to be part of Vegas now. And I'm constantly being told, I've got this TV show that's in production right now for a major network. I'm like, yeah, it's Amazon Prime, and they let everybody on there. I'm like, don't think you're anything special. So, well, I do believe in Bigfoot. So basically, it seems like this theory just stole it from Wonder Woman and the Amazons. You know, how they had this like shroud of invisibility to people until you got to breach it. So, I mean, and it's almost like the legend of Shangri-La, this missing and hidden, Chinese or whatever it is, city in the mountains or whatever that nobody can find. I think that theory, whereas it does have some validity to it, like if somebody came up to me or it turned out to be true, like aliens landed, and they're like, we've been hiding your Bigfoots this entire time. Like, I would not be shocked by that. But I don't think that that's actually what is going on. I think that we do too much to find them, not to unless it is somewhere that we can't go, like it's in the middle of the sky or something like that. Like we can't like walk into it. I just can't see that happening. Now there was something, what was the other thing about that theory? Oh, whether we would exploit them or not? Yeah. We'd either hunt them for sport or we would turn them into, forgive my terminology here, our lap dogs, or we would attempt to. I mean, it goes right back to the line in Godzilla 2, King of the Monsters, where, the Congress or whatever is saying, we need to bring these Titans under control. Otherwise they're going to kill us. And, the one lady says, so you think that we would have Godzilla be our pet? And he's like, no, we would be his. And we would. I think the Sasquatches and Bigfoots, which to me are the exact same thing, were to like actually be, I guess, unveiled. I think they'd probably take us out quite easily, more than likely, unless we just nuked the whole thing and killed everybody at once. So, which I wouldn't put it past us. That's just me. So I'm sorry that you're wrong, Becky.
Well, I was going to say, with that theory, then, are the aliens protecting them because we would exploit them? Or are the aliens, hiding them from us, keeping them from hurting us, so that the aliens still have people to watch and study?
No, the first one.
I've lost the plot.
I was going to say, I think we have okay.
I think Scott can take 5 minutes and tell us again about.
I mean, I guess I'll just have to watch this movie tonight.
No, you really don't.
No, it's not worth watching.
No, Scott, I'm surprised you still have brain cells. That just like I'd be drooling on myself after 30 minutes.
I gotta have something to do.
Gotcha. Well, before I get to mine, and I'm going to stall so I don't have to.
Yeah, wow, we've been plowing through topics today.
Mm-hmm.
I know. A couple things that from the previous one, which we didn't really address. Obviously, there's Pam's from in response to you, Lauren. Just saying that you should be cautious when investigating a prison. I'm just going to say here, though, again, it's got to be something about what you say when you're there. Because we, obviously Dave and I, and then Kim and BJ went and did West Virginia State Penitentiary. We had a bunch of people, like, even though they had a scary moment. Well, wait, no, Dave got shivved, according to him. So yeah, never mind. I'm on crack. So yeah, be careful. But to you specifically, none of the women were touched, hurt, pushed, nothing. Like nothing bad happened to any of them, even when I tried to pimp them out. So
I understand that it's a very specific situation that I'm scared of happening, but it's just the possibility that it's incredibly more likely in my mind that it would happen in a prison versus any other haunted location. But I realize it could really happen anywhere. It's not specific to a prison. It's just that's what my mind associates it with.
Yeah, no, and I can understand that. But, so now that you have said this, my question to you then is, because we're going to go back to a prison, whether it's Ohio State Reformatory or whether it's West Virginia, we're probably going to go both. If I could ever get a hold of the lady again from Brushy Mountain prison, we'll get back to it. We'll be doing an actual prison. But the question is, when that day comes, are you going to be able to control that fear? You're going to be, are you going to be able to not let it get to you?
I believe I will be just fine. It's going to be in the back of my head a little bit. And I don't know. Oh, okay. Well, bye, Scott.
He'll be back.
But yeah, to answer your question, I will keep it under wraps. it will not affect my investigation skills. It's just something that I have to keep in the back of my mind to protect myself. That's my only thing. But I'm not going to run out of a prison unless something gives me a reason and something does happen that's physical and that I do not deem appropriate, at which point I will probably run out, but then I have good reason to. Any other situation, no, I'll be fine.
You have every right to leave whenever you want.
Yeah. I will probably yell at something if that does happen, believe me, but other than that, no, we'll be fine.
I was gonna say, does it always have to be something you say? Or can it just be the energy vibes that you put off?
I think it can be both.
It can be both.
I think plenty of people can get attacked without saying anything. You know, you don't, and plus, like, being a woman in a prison, you know, that's not obviously the ideal thing to be, considering there's likely men in the prison. I mean, it goes without saying, that have done some pretty poor things. So, and I think that's what Lauren was alluding to. So I think the very fact that there is a woman in the vicinity can put you in danger for sure, because these are some fucking terrible people that did some terrible things, at least some of them. So
you didn't go to jail because you went frolicking through the meadows.
Yes, exactly. And especially not at a place like Eastern State Penitentiary. You know, that was some pretty bad people into that prison. You know, it's not one of those like, oh, I didn't pay my ticket fines, you know. They don't send those people to Eastern State Penitentiary, you know. So yeah.
No, they don't. But I mean, keep in mind, and I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that these are very good people, because they're not. But a lot of them, especially ones that would remain at a prison like that, you know, intelligent spirits that would remain there, chances are they probably had a pretty good relationship with women. You know, a lot of them were married. You know, even Red, I can't remember what his last name is. He's like one of the top dogs. There was one of the top dogs at Western State Penitentiary. I mean, he was one of the guys that would literally walk up to the guards and be like, hey, you know, I like you. If there's anybody in here that you want me to take care of for you, you just let me know. Like, that's how open he was about how much power he had. But even like female office workers that would walk back and forth, he'd tip his hat, good morning, ma'am. I mean, like, showed him a lot of respect. And I almost think that in prisons, I think like the men are probably going to have the most problems, because nobody has any respect for a man that like beats on a woman. But a guy who can take down another guy, especially, you know, one like me or Dave or anything like that, is going to be looked on more favorably. So I almost think that in prisons, you probably would have a less of a chance of that happening.
So you're kind of going to the more prison yard man of the, or, you know, like mentality.
Top dog. Yeah. Alpha man. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the same thing of when like pedophiles or child killers, you know, or something like that serial rapists go into prisons. They don't last a week because they get killed by the other prison guards, or not guards, other prisoners, because they don't like those people. I can't imagine their thought processes on that they're the good people, but these other people deserve to die. I don't know, but that's not for me to decide. I just don't think that, at least in my one prison experience, so I mean, take it with a grain of salt, that I really don't think women have something to worry about, unless they start acting, you know, crazy. You know, they start doing the provoking, that sort of thing, or they ask for it. I can imagine somewhere there's some team out there that is some woman that will go in there and ask for it. Can't recommend it at all, but I'm not the leader of that team, so don't worry about it.
I'm really glad you made those points, because I'm sure me and Lauren, because I was exactly with Lauren, and I'm sure there's a lot of women out there that feel the same way, but you made a lot of good points there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did not mean to say that women are the only ones that may or may not be picked out in prison investigations. That's not what I meant.
No,
I hope nobody took it that way.
No,
that was just what my personal fear as a woman may be going through a prison. But yes, Mike, you did make a lot of good points, and there are a lot of different people that are in and out of the prison system, and that may still be haunting a prison. So it only takes one to have that mentality of, you're an intimidating guy, I need to take you down to prove the rest of everybody else that I am still top dog. And then there is always that going to be maybe one person that is like, I haven't seen a woman in 20 years and she's here and she can't see me, kind of thing. I think it could go both ways. It only takes one, though.
No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with that one. But, you know, and not to make light of what you just said, because that's not what I'm trying to do. But let's just say he's intelligent. He knows that like 50 years have passed since he's even seen a woman. He's not going to remember even what to do with you.
I hope not.
or any woman for that matter. Like this is one of those things where they're more scared of you than you are of them.
I'm not convinced of that in a prison setting, though. That's my thing.
Just trust me. Put out that energy. Bitch, I'm here.
I will. I'll do that exactly and see what happens.
I was just going to say, you don't need to do that exactly like that, but if you feel the need, by all means.
Maybe. I don't recommend that.
Our good friend Alan, I have no idea why he's writing this, but probably trying to be funny. Mutilated cows are aliens' way of threatening Sasquatch to stay hidden. No. Moving on. You are wrong, Alan. So.
Alan, I like you, but what the fuck are you talking about?
I think you're just trying to be funny, but see, even this Pam, nothing specific happened to her. The male companion, what I tell you, male companion. I do.
I did raise some good points.
Well, why do you guys all seem surprised?
Like, why do you think we seem surprised, Mike?
Because you don't understand true talent, Becky.
Talent. Okay.
I've got the mind. Hey, that was my phone.
Okay, so my mind started going though while you guys were talking about the whole
thing.
Wouldn't we be more as women, more kind of at risk of having something happen to us in a old mental facility? Because a lot of them guys are strength of an adult male with mindset of a child.
But my only thing is, I could be wrong with this, but my understanding is most mental facilities are not one gender like prisons are. Because as far as I remember, Edinburgh, you had men like that, but you also had women staying like a few doors down from them.
It was co-ed.
Yeah, it was co-ed.
There was the men's ward and the women's ward. I also thought it was kind of odd that the family rooms were in the men's ward.
What are you trying to say? Men don't deserve family wards?
No, usually if they're doing if they have family rooms, they're on the women's side.
It's very sexist.
In their own location. Because I am, Mike. Because I am.
I know. I keep hoping you keep it under wraps, but apparently it leaked out tonight.
I just leaked it out. Women rule.
It's on the record. I hate men.
Way to score some points there, Sam. Man, they're the worst.
Is my favorite.
I'm so glad. So glad I'm your
favorite. We're not taking votes, Sam. So
if you don't need to, I would win.
that's why we're not taking a vote. So I guess my only response to that would be not to your sexist thing about the family rooms, but whether they would be more at risk at mental facilities the only thing that I could think of that would do that is if they were mistreated by female nurses. You know, if they created some sort of negative opinion of women while they were there. But in almost all of like the historical recreations and documentaries and stuff, I mean, it's usually not the nurses that do it, it's the doctors. So again, I would probably have to go back to men. But I mean, it would also go along the line of how you present yourself. You were just talking about hospitals and how you had a medical background. You know, would you consider it safe for you to start talking about your medical background at a place where people might have been abused and mistreated by female nurses or doctors? Okay, we're going to get to that next week.
Love it.
And next week, you stumped me. I don't know.
Out of time.
The other thing
what we learned here is that it's a case-by-case basis, like
exactly.
most issues.
It is. Yeah.
Like, of course, if you go into psychiatric hospital or hospital where there was a nurse there that abused patients, they might not like women who have medical backgrounds. That's just called a prejudice. That's just called a bias, a negative bias towards somebody. So, but I think it is a little bit different in prisons, like Lauren said, where in prisons you have all men and you have all men caretakers and you have all male guards. They don't have access to women at all, you know. Then I think that is a little bit of a different thing. Whereas, you know, in a psychiatric ward, yes, you might have patients that might, if we don't tend to compare like mental capacities to ages, but like, you know, that don't have as developed of brains as some people. They might be more childlike and be more attached to women caretakers. That's fair. That's fair to say. But there might also have been male caretakers there and male doctors. So, yeah.
There you go. Anybody have anything to add? Nope. Sweet. Got by again.
I say you successfully got out of sharing a topic.
Okay. Go me. All right. Well, that does it here for us this week. We'll be back next week with another episode, and hopefully Haley will be back with us. Thank you, Becky, for coming in literally at the last second. So I appreciate that. All right. So that does it for us. Stay healthy, stay safe, get your vaccine. We want to see you back here next week. Everyone have a good evening.